So during your life, were you a homemaker? Did you have another career too, or?
Yes, I worked for the old group health hospital for 7 years. And I worked for a laundry once. And my very first job when I was in high school was to work in a candy store. And they would urge me to eat some candy. They thought that would be better than having somebody sniff it, you know. And I never would. I couldn't eat candy I hadn't paid for. Which was silly, although my dad said, that's good, that's good.
What did you do for group health?
I was the PBX operator.
Oh, there's something that technology has probably rendered obsolete by now, pretty much.
Absolutely. I couldn't do it now. I don't know how to do it now. But I like to do it. And it's interesting, during the war, I worked in Hollywood for Bardwell and McAllister, a company that was based here at that time. And they made the big lights for all the movie studios, that sort of thing. But they also, during the war, were making the dashboards for the old B-19. And they also brought in their pilots to train. So it was kind of interesting. Things were going on most of the time. But the other operator on with me came in and told me she'd worked in Hollywood. She came there because she wanted to be a star. And, well, obviously she didn't make it, but she was very pretty. But she said she used to listen in on their conversations. And her favorite was Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn.
Of course.
And I said, you did that? Didn't anybody ever catch you? Because, you know, the supervisor would listen in on your conversation, whether you knew it or not. I could always tell that the sound was a little different. But she said, no, I did it for several years and they never, ever caught me.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite the duo.
Yeah, I don't know if that's interesting anybody on the blog, but I was quite amazed, really, that she could do that.
So, when your neighbor told us about you, he thought that you might have some, some interesting memories to share about West Seattle in general, having been here for so long.
Oh, well, yeah. My husband's stepfather was one of the Peabody brothers with the ferries that sold them to the state. I have a picture of her standing with the Kalakala the day that they christened it, and the family. And there were 8 boys in that family, and we got to know some of them, which was fun. I think one of them lived down on the beach. One of them lived over in in the Bluff area of West Seattle, where they had a big view and that sort of thing. But otherwise, our kids were all athletic. We went to all the swimming matches, we went to all the baseball games, we went to all the football games, and they were quite successful. And we had a daughter, and she was a swimmer. So they went to Chief South High School, and where all their friends went. And that was pretty good too. I used to go over to the little grammar school there, and we did the books. Whenever new books came in, we fixed them all with covers and registered them, that sort of thing. Just kind of normal stuff, not outside the rhododendrons, not anything unusual. But we had a lot of neighbors, we had a lot of friends. When we first lived here, I have to say though, that was all trees over there on that side of the property. And we used to see pheasant and what I used to call prairie chickens. I think they're out in the street and coming out of the woods and all that kind. There were hardly any houses here at all. And we hardly ever saw any cars. I don't think they knew the street was here. But it was kind of nice. I like the rural atmosphere, to be honest. We left Southern California, I think partly because it was getting so populated, too many cars and too many people. And when we were living here, it wasn't that way. I like the old West Seattle really well. A little better than Rose apartment houses.
How did you wind up choosing then this particular neighborhood?
And that's where my husband's parents were for a while, in West Seattle.
But was the house already here? Did you build the house or?
No, this house was made in, I think it was 1951. But we had one girl, we didn't have enough bedrooms in the old house. So we were looking for a house, and we saw this one, and it had some of the characters of a California home, which we all like, the big windows, things like that. And so we bought it. I think we paid $29,000, and we thought that was kind of high.
In the 50s, yeah, absolutely.
Things change greatly because this is 2 lots here, and it goes back up the hill a ways.
So what's it like? You know, obviously, to make it to this milestone, you've outlived a lot of people. You know, how do you know? But obviously, you're not necessarily just living in the past or lamenting things. You seem like someone that is very positive.
I thought about that after people asked me why you live so long, kind of thing, and I really kind of think it's the pleasant life that I've had. You know, my kids were all healthy. My husband and I were in love till he died when he was 87. And we didn't have a lot of problems. I had wonderful parents, and so did he. Although his own father died and he had a stepfather who loved our kids and was really nice. I don't know, when I was 8 years old, I think, I had what they call double pneumonia. And the doctor prepared my parents for my death. I was going to die. I didn't. Now, I don't remember much about that, but that was probably the big thing at that time in my life that had happened. In high school in California, I was part of a little group called Jane Addams, which was an honor group in the high school, and that's where I met my husband. And his stepfather was the purser for the Graceline Shipping Company, which was based in Hawaii. And when my husband was 16 years old, he asked him if he would like to be a cadet on one of the cargo ships during the summer vacation. So for the next 3 years, we never see him in the summertime. He was always on the ship. But when we got kind of serious about each other, we said, we didn't want to marry until after the war was over. But I was working in Hollywood at that time, and I got a telephone call from him in San Francisco. And he was sitting for a license. And he said he would be down here in Lomita at the end of the week. And he said, let's get married. And I said, I thought we were going to wait till after the war. And he said, well, I'll tell you about it when I get down there. And I had the feeling it's something maybe he didn't want to talk about on the phone, censorship, all that kind of stuff was going on. But when he came down, he told me, our ship was in the Saipan Tinian area, and there were flyers over there, though the big fighting was over. There were airplanes everywhere, and those pilots were laying bets that the war would be over in 3 weeks. So he said, let's get married. We did. And then we borrowed my father's car, we used his gasoline, and went to visit some friends on the other side of Los Angeles. We were coming through the downtown area of Los Angeles, when all of a sudden we saw people running up the street, and they were yelling and throwing their arms around. Horns started tooting all over the place, sirens were going off, people were hanging out of the windows, throwing confetti out into the street, and everybody was yelling. So we turned on the car radio and they were saying, "The war is over, the war is over." And my husband figured out it was exactly 3 weeks from what they were predicting. Exactly.
Wow.
So that was fun. But he had to go to sea for another year after the war to bring military people home, wounded people, all their supplies that they wanted to bring back to the country. So for 1 more year he went to sea, and at the end of the war, that's when he said, "I'm never going to sea again." He'd had it. His parents were a little upset because they said he was only for a few months for getting eligible to become captain. And they said it would look so good on a resume. They said, "No, I'll work on the waterfront among ships, I would like that, but I'm not going to sea," and he never did.
Interesting. So do you have any plans, special plans on Monday for your birthday to celebrate?
Yes, our children have a reservation at the restaurant down on the waterfront there.
Salties? Salties?
Yes, and they're going to be at 19 people, relatives and friends. And I understand that on Sunday, our neighbors are going to come out and sing happy birthday, which they've done before for me. So we have a celebration, and then, as I say, my granddaughter, her husband, and the baby, whom we see on this little thing all the time. They put pictures on there, but now we've seen her in person, and she runs around saying, "Hi, hi."
How old is she?
About 17 months.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes. She's a little healthy gem.
So how many children, grandchildren, and then she'd be a great-grandchild do you have?
Well, my daughter died when she was 56 years, so she's been gone quite some time. She died a year before my husband died.
Oh.
And then I had the 3 boys that are still here. Their wives, which I like very much. We only have 1 grandchild. I was an only child, my husband was an only child, and my granddaughter was an only child. So I guess it runs in the family.
But so let's see. So the 17-month-old, if she's the child of the 1 grandchild then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, they live in San Diego, California.
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
That's where we came up from.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, in 1991.
You know, I liked San Diego when we lived down there. We never lived that close, but Laredo was on the fringes of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 4 miles from the ocean, which was always kind of nice. As kids, we would go to the beach and play volleyball. I don't think we swam much. We just ran around in the water and jumped around and played volleyball. But in high school, I was one of a little group of 5 girls that kind of hung together, and we went roller skating every Friday night.